Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another BigCommerce Town Hall. We are so excited to be back with you again this quarter to share the latest news and updates from BigCommerce. My name is Drew Bonias. I manage the customer community here at BigCommerce, and I'll be your moderator for today. For those of you who might be new to Town Hall, this is our quarterly event where you, all of our customers and partners, can hear directly from BigCommerce about the latest enhancements to the platform and what's coming next. We have quite a few updates to share with you today, but before we jump into everything, I'll walk you through our agenda and discuss how you can participate if you have questions for any of our presenters. To kick us off, our CEO, Brent Bellum, will share some company updates and highlight a few of the latest innovative merchants to launch on BigCommerce. Next, Melissa Dixon will join and share our recent content resource updates. Then Sarah Mangum will join us today to share some exciting Make It Big Awards news. Then Troy Cox will introduce members of our product and marketing teams to announce some of the newest features and upcoming releases on the platform. Finally, we'll transition to live Q&A and use whatever time is left to address the questions that you submit during the broadcast. Let me get my slide to change. There we go. During today's town hall, you can use the Q&A panel to privately send us your questions about BigCommerce or any of the topics we're covering. As I mentioned before, we'll try to answer as many of these as we can during Q&A. And you don't need to wait until we get to live Q&A to submit your question. You can start sending them now or as we go. We'll also be using the chat feature to share links to additional resources with you about what we're covering, so make sure to keep an eye on that as well. And don't worry if you miss anything that we talk about today. We'll have a video recap and a downloadable version of our presentation available in the BigCommerce Help Center within the next week. And with that, I think we're ready to get started. Brent, I will pass it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Happy holidays 2023. We know that for those of you who are B2C sellers, this is, for many of you, your peak selling season of the year. And for us, we kind of treat it like our annual Olympics on your behalf. Now, for us, competing in these Olympics is not about the magnitude and speed of product releases and the value of those. It's the polar opposite. It's about scalability, perfect uptime, and delivery of your websites without a flaw. And I'm happy to note that with the passing of the peak Cyber 5 days, BigCommerce on your behalf has delivered for the 10th straight year, 0 platform downtime for any merchants, not a second of downtime for any of those 5 peak Cyber 5 days. And the way we approach this on your behalf is as we get closer to the peak Cyber 5, we slow down the pace of product releases in anticipation of an actual code freeze that starts a couple of weeks before Cyber 5. And in that work up to it, our focus really shifts towards scalability, bug fixing if there are any outstanding bugs, and hardening and increased capacity, server capacity, et cetera, so that we're perfectly ready for your peak performance during those days. So very excited about that. And hopefully, in general, you've all had good holiday selling seasons. Melissa Dixon will report in a little bit some of the public data that we have and will be sharing about volumes. And the so what of it all is, as reported last week, the same-store sales for BigCommerce merchants were up 14% year on year on Thanksgiving Day, US holiday, not global holiday, of course. And same-store sales are not directly comparable with total GMV because this is only for stores that had also been live on the same day 1 year before. We were hoping that that would be indicative of the trend for the full 5, but on the other 5 days, it's looking like sales volumes in aggregate are up in the high single digits. That's in line or slightly above general e-commerce trends. But it's a general rule that the years of annual e-commerce growth, which were kind of metronomically in the 12 to 15% range for about a decade in the US, at least for B2C, are over. And for the past 2 years, now e-commerce is growing in the mid to high single digits. And what we're seeing for BigCommerce merchants, slightly above the trends being reported by Adobe and Salesforce and other folks. She'll go into more of those details in a bit. Okay, final thing I would note before getting into, you can go to the next page, Drew, is I would also just sort of highlight for BigCommerce in our last quarterly earnings, we are happy to have achieved break-even profitability a quarter early. We had said we would do that in this quarter, Q4, on an adjusted EBITDA basis. We actually were basically break-even in Q3, and our operating free cash flow ex acquisition payments has been positive each of the last 2 quarters, almost 10% of revenue. So we're, you should all know that as a public company, you're in great hands with BigCommerce. We're now EBITDA profitable, or will be as of Q4, and operating free cash flow nicely positive the last 2 quarters, with a strong balance sheet. Of all the platforms you can be with, we're one of the 2 pure plays that's publicly traded, and we're doing well. And I will also note the other one that's publicly traded, Shopify up in Canada, my understanding is they did have some downtime, fairly substantial amount earlier last week. Knock on wood, I hope that never happens to us and you. We try to minimize it. I believe that we'll again be 99.99% uptime for the full year 2023. Of course, the year's not over yet. And that's a real benchmark, top of the industry performance, 4 nines of uptime. Statistically, that's 1/10 the downtime of 99.98%, and really the benchmark that we try to deliver on your behalf. Okay, last quarter in Town Hall, I introduced the new sort of framework that BigCommerce talks about, where we're trying to deliver industry-leading capabilities to you, our merchants and partners, around these 5 different dimensions. And just a quick update on that. A few of these, we have enhanced the metrics and the quantification that we put behind this. On the engage one in particular, I'll show more details on the next page, but the average enterprise site-wide conversion, so all of our enterprise merchants using our flagship payment processors in Q3 was a good 34% higher than the internet average, substantially higher than what Shopify has reported for their cherry-picked top merchants. So we're, you merchants are delivering better site experiences and higher conversion rates by a very large margin on BigCommerce. Attract is, again, what Feedonomics does for our customers. It's helping you to achieve higher site traffic, return on ad spend, and sales through the leading advertising channels online and leading marketplaces online. And their own merchants are saying that on average, they get a 10 to 20% sales lift or conversion lift as a result of Feedonomics through all the leading ad and marketplace channels that they use. And then finally, the conversion stats. Okay, let's go to the next page. And this is just what I wanted to show. So last time we reported on Q2 results, which were 61.9% checkout conversion. That's very much market leading, far above the average, which is typically in the 40 to 45% checkout conversion rate. This is for enterprise merchants using our flagship payment processors. The Q3 numbers were basically in line with that at 61.4. Again, far above what you hear advertised, including from our competitor up in Canada. And then there's seasonality on site-wide conversion. The seasonality works in favor of it in Q3 relative to Q2. And you can see that it went up across all our enterprise merchants. And for the Q3 comparison coming from IRP Commerce, that was a good 34% above the internet average in Q3. So what we're always trying to do for you is deliver the tooling and the product that lets you design better customer experiences and have better site-wide conversion than you could on other platforms. And these are the average results with third-party verification, at least on the Q2 numbers. Okay, next page. Troy and team will go into more detail on this, but it's such an important announcement for us that I wanted to really emphasize it. So with multi-storefront, true enterprise functionality that we have made available to you for now, I think 2 years running, We began with multi-storefront that really worked best for multiple brands in the same market and language, or adding B2B and B2C. With the now release of multi-geography for multi-storefront, we are truly enabling customers to have multiple geographies in the multiple storefronts with different themes per storefront, different content and languages, all through, from the storefront all the way to the emails, unique pricing, promotions, discounts per storefront. You can have different SEO optimizations per storefront, different widgets per storefront. All of this is available for enterprise stores created after September 1st in our beta environment. And once we roll this out to general availability, it'll be for all merchants. So we're really excited about that. Troy and team will have more details on it later. It's one of the most significant product releases of the year for us. Next page. All right, so now let's go into new merchants. And again, the reason I highlight these is in particular use it as an approach to pinpointing what are the biggest innovations that merchants are introducing to their stores right now, and what are big trends in e-commerce. Now, of course, with 50,000 plus merchants, we could highlight existing ones, but I like the new merchant launches because they're starting from scratch, they're migrating, and they really can take advantage of whatever functionality they want. Let's start with Harvey Nichols. This is, for those who don't know, the iconic luxury department store of the UK. It's been around for a very long time. It's a really beautiful luxury site, full digital transformation. And what I like to emphasize here is the way Harvey Nichols works. They have 7 stores, 5 flagship department stores, 2 smaller ones. Their inventory for e-commerce, for the most part, is not sitting in a warehouse. It's sitting on store shelves or, in the store's back rooms. And so they need to know if a particular size of a particular product is available in one of the stores. And if somebody buys it, they got to go pick it, maybe even off the store racks, and then deliver it to the customer. And all of that is coordinated by Random Retail's BOPIS capabilities, which includes an app for in-store personnel. It's really a terrific implementation and shows the power of what omni-channel can be online and offline. Also note the full tech stack that was chosen by Harvey Nichols with Attract, Pimberly, Prismic, really top integrated tech partners of BigCommerce. Next page. Coldwater Creek is an iconic American, originally catalog retailer that is now direct to consumer over the internet. Founded in 1984. I knew this brand and their catalogs from growing up. They came to our house. Staging Pro was a technology partner used to manage content and the staging of releases for it. There's a lot of legacy system integrations that Coldwater Creek used, and Mini BC for tokenizing guest payments, with partner CQL delivering that. Migration off of Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Next. Zeiss. This isn't a big shop, but I like to promote it because it's another iconic luxury brand out of Germany. They make, a lot of the world's best optical lenses. I have Zeiss in one pair of my reading glasses, a pair of sunglasses, and what's relevant to this site, a spotting scope that we have at home for kind of watching nature out of our backyard. And you can go onto this site and buy indeed spotting scopes and other type things like that. So Zeiss, we're really proud to serve. Next. Home Outlet is another good example of buy online, pick up in store from multiple locations. Mira Commerce delivered that. Great site. Next. Twinkling Tree is a big site for outdoor and indoor lighting products, and now's the season for that around Christmas. You see lights all around the trees here in Austin, Texas, that's for sure. They've got a custom order ID solution, migration from Shopify, and our top partner, Matter Design, out of Australia, New Zealand, delivered that. Next. All right, this one is another sentimental favorite of mine, Caffè Borbone. It's an Italian espresso brand from Naples. I love Naples. I've been there probably 20 plus times. This jacket comes from Naples, Italy. Actually, my shirt does too. It's the first of 3 stores. So they're both expanding into the US with these stores. They're adding B2B and they're selling in Italy. Great example of multi-storefront, another migration off the Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Welcome, Cafe Borbona. Next. All right, Medcart is Australia's leading marketplace for pharmaceutical and medical supplies. And I like to emphasize this site because of the use of Marketplacer. Marketplacer is one of the 2 leading marketplace management solutions in the world. They're out of Australia, but they're also serving customers in Europe and North America. They're a great partner of ours, lots of joint customers. And this is if you are a brand like Medcart that wants to manage third-party suppliers. You manage those third-party suppliers who will drop ship on your behalf using Marketplacer. So if any of you are big brands and you are thinking of adding marketplace capabilities, for example, Harvey Nichols earlier has marketplace sellers through Harvey Nicks, then consider Marketplacer. Webforce 5 has the leading integration into Marketplacer in our apps marketplace. Next. All right, Design Text, designer manufacturer of applied materials. This one's really cool for their custom design studio, which lets you visualize, customize fabrics and apply them to furniture. I love use cases like that. Give them a look for that type of customization configuration. They're also using the new B2B buyer portal, which we're very proud of, that launched in May. Next. Trade Tools is Australia's best industrial tool company, and they are another one who is headless with Prismic. We showed another customer earlier that had also used Prismic as their CMS of choice. They're using our GraphQL APIs coming off of Magento. Next. Thanks to Alligent Consulting for delivering them. Another top partner of ours is Mustache Republic, again out of Australia, New Zealand, and they've delivered Australia's largest extruder of aluminum products. It's a B2B site. I want to always show examples of good B2B sites, especially when they come off of Magento. Next. Glen Dimplex out of Australia. A lot of good Australia launches in the last quarter. It's a leading global kitchen electrical heating brand, selling all those kitchen electrical appliances. Another good B2B site coming off of Magento, and another one delivered by Random Retail, like Harvey Nichols. Okay, that's it for me. Melissa, tell us about Cyber 5, please.
Yes, I will. I'm so excited to be here, everyone. Thanks, Brent. We have so many exciting things happening. Of course, Cyber Week. Congratulations to all of our amazing customers on another fantastic Cyber Week. And going into the holidays, this has been a really interesting year leading up to the season, and many experts and analysts were sort of unsure of what to make, of the season. There's been tons of different studies. Some showed that consumers were bypassing Black Friday altogether. I've read others that showed that people did want to wait for the biggest and best deals on Cyber Monday. And most experts and analysts were really predicting that this season would sort of be this return to pre-pandemic growth rates, especially in light of inflation and interest rates and such. So the big takeaway, and Drew, you can go on to the next slide. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. So I think the big takeaway really is that we're not seeing these exponential increases that we have over the last several years, but we're still seeing record holiday e-commerce spending. The numbers are really just starting to stabilize. So that said, we were absolutely thrilled to see that our customers saw such a strong start to Cyber Week out of the gate, and that Black Friday numbers were also on par with the rest of the industry. As Brent mentioned earlier, these numbers you're looking at, these are same store data. We're also going to be publishing some of our aggregate data as part of the full Cyber Week report. So think of this as sort of your teaser. You can read the initial Black Friday report there. The link should be in the chat for you, or you can scan that QR code. And then later this afternoon, we're going to put out the full Cyber Week report, which will have data from Thanksgiving all the way through Cyber Monday. And our finance and legal teams are still reviewing the numbers, so I can't say anything explicitly, but what I can tell you is that they're great. And we did see double-digit growth in sales on both Cyber Monday and the full Cyber Week. So that's all I can say for now. But again, back to those industry numbers. From what we've seen with the broader industry, we saw on Black Friday, Adobe Analytics reported a 7.5% increase in sales for Black Friday. Salesforce reported an 8% increase. So we're right there with our aggregate data. We were at 8% also on Black Friday. You can see here the same store data was plus 6% for Black Friday, but we're on par with the rest of the industry. Also, from what I've seen so far this morning, Adobe Analytics reported that overall Cyber Week spending has jumped by about 8% over the course of Cyber Week. And I can say that we are higher than that, so that's great. We have surpassed that trend. Adobe also reported an increase of 9.6% on Cyber Monday. All I can say is that we surpassed that as well. So congratulations to all of our customers. Also, as Brent mentioned, we're absolutely thrilled to say that our platform experienced 100% uptime for the 10th year in a row. So that's fantastic. And we're so happy to be supporting you all year, and especially during this busy time. So take a look at the Black Friday report now, and then stay tuned. Follow our BigCommerce social channels. We'll be posting there first, and we'll make sure also that Drew posts the full Cyber Week report in the BigCommerce community channels as well. And that'll be out later this afternoon, and then you'll have all of the data. Okay, and on the next slide, also on the Cyber Week note, we are hosting a LinkedIn Live on Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. I will be there along with our BigCommerce SVP of Marketing, Megan Stabler. And then we also have Matt Dornfeld, Head of Global Partnerships at Feedonomics. So this will be a really interesting discussion. We're going to look at our BigCommerce data. We're also going to look at the broader industry data, kind of explore some of those trends and what that means for 2024. So tune into that. There should be a link in the chat for you, and you can add that to your calendar if you want to join. I would recommend it. We're excited to have that discussion. There will also be live Q&A at the end. So if anyone wants to ask questions during that, we'd be happy to try to answer them. Okay, moving along. Beyond Cyber Week, there are a few more resources that I'm excited to share with you. This B2B report is one of our strongest yet. There's some really great industry data in here. For those of you who either sell B2B or if you're an agency working with B2Bs, you'll definitely want to take a look at this one. So we worked with a company to survey over 1,000 buyers across the US, UK, and Australia, and had some really interesting findings as far as where buyers find and purchase products, what they want from e-commerce sites, what they expect during checkout, and tons more info. And really, I think the bigger picture here is that B2B buyers are craving B2C like experiences. This is something that, we talk a lot about with our customers with the current landscape. And these buyers are real people who are shopping online in their personal lives and want the same conveniences and compelling experiences in their professional lives. So B2Bs, it's really about having a frictional online shopping experience and also having an omni-channel presence as well, because more buyers are shopping marketplaces and even social media. So there's tons of data insights related to that and so many more. So check that one out. And then on the next slide, I also wanted to share this podcast with you. We partnered with Future Commerce to host the entire second season of their Decoded podcast, which is really interesting. It's all about demystifying commerce. So the theme of the second season is called From Concept to Cart, and it's all about how products are made and how they go to market. So the episodes cover different topics like product development, measuring KPIs, customer experience, conversion rate optimization, and more. And it's a really well-rounded mix of perspectives from different e-commerce professionals. On the merchant side, there's agencies, there's other industry experts and professionals. So you kind of get to explore all the different facets of the go-to-market process. So that's a really good one to tune into. And they're short episodes, so easy to consume. Okay, that's all for me. Make sure to check out our BigCommerce socials later for the Cyber Week report coming this afternoon. And I will pass it over to Sarah on our customer marketing team. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Mangum, and I am a customer marketing manager here at BC. Today, I'm honored and excited to announce our 2023 Make It Big Customer Award winners. If you don't know, the Make It Big Customer Awards spotlights and celebrates online retailers' achievements on the BigCommerce platform. This year, customers were invited to submit their stories through September 1st to be considered. Once submissions were in, a thorough judging process determined the winners, who then received a prize package, including a feature in Times Square on the NASDAQ Tower in New York City. An exciting update to the program this year is that we were able to expand our eligible country list from 4 to 12. And yes, the team plans to continue expanding eligibility next year. The program features 4 categories: design, innovation, emerging brand, and global strategy. So now on to our winners. Next slide, please. First up, we have the Design Award. Congratulations to Combat Corner. One judge noted that the site had the best overall experience with the most stylized merchandising and user experience. So well done, Combat Corner. Next, we have the Innovation Award. Congratulations to London Tile Co. for their innovative sampling strategy. One judge said the site was sleek, visually appealing, and has an innovative design and navigation. So cheers to London Tile Co. Next, we have the Emerging Brand Award. Congratulations to Alpinistas. This was one of our favorite submissions this year. This female-owned and operated site donates a percentage of revenue to supporting women's outdoor programs. The judges were impressed with the brand strategy, simple interface, and thoughtful, effective category filtering. So congrats to Alpinistas. And last, we have our Global Strategy Award. Congratulations to New Zealand Natural Clothing. Judges liked the ability to shop in alternate currencies and noted that the site is very well executed. So enjoy celebrating New Zealand Natural Clothing. Congratulations again to these brands for having excellent user interfaces and brand strategies. You can learn more about these customers in our blog and press release. And finally, thank you to all the BigCommerce customers who submitted their story. I encourage everyone attending today to submit in our 2024 program. Now over to Troy for product updates.
Thank you, Sarah. And congrats to all of the Make It Big winners. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you on this quarter's town hall. As it has already been said, I know this is the busy season for many of you, so an extra special thank you for joining us today. We have an amazing lineup of product updates to share with you, so let's get into this. All right, and the next slide. There you go. All right, so Brent's already talked about our 5 e-commerce imperatives, right? These are the areas where we assert the BigCommerce platform is better than all the others. Think of them as our key differentiators. So what we're going to do now is we are going to look ahead and explore additional improvements and benefits on our roadmap in each of these areas. So with what I'm going to do is I'm going to tease them here, and then the team is going to dive into each of these areas in a bit more detail. All right, so first up, engage. The shopping experience is where so many of you differentiate. And so it's our absolute goal to give you the best tools for building the most engaging, the most differentiated shopping experiences. And so that's what this engage pillar is all about. Now, as you know, we've got two storefront solutions. We've got our native stencil and, of course, headless. For those of you using our native stencil and page builder, we're going to introduce you to a new page widgets API that allows you and ecosystem partners to programmatically move page builder content between environments. So think of things like moving content between a staging environment and a production environment. And then for those of you who are interested in headless, we have one of the biggest announcements of this town hall, and that is the introduction of Catalyst, which is our upcoming headless storefront that's based on the world's most popular frameworks, React and Next.js. Next up in our Attract section, we'll share some exciting updates that help you maximize return from channels. This is where our friends from Feednomics will join us. You'll hear from them about new capabilities that allow you to sync your catalog data from external systems like ERPs and CRMs and PIMs back to BigCommerce. And then they'll also share some new features within Feednomics to improve product listings via some new data validation and entry workflows. All right, in the Convert section, this is all about helping you maximize conversion in your checkout. Brent's already shared with you our amazing conversion statistics. We're doing even more. You'll hear about our upcoming AI-powered product recommendations that leverage your data to provide highly relevant recommendations in real time, which is all designed, of course, to help you increase average order value. We're also unveiling PayPal's new accelerated passwordless checkout, which is deeply integrated with our native checkout. And the benefit of that is it zooms your customers through checkout, again, all designed to maximize conversion. Then in the expand section, we're going to talk about B2B and a bunch of new features that we think you're going to love, including an optimized mobile experience, mobile buyer experience, company credit limits, new custom shipping options for quotes, and a whole lot more. And then, as Brent has already mentioned, a massive update around selling internationally and selling cross-border. So we're excited to share that update with you. That all builds on multi-storefront and makes it super easy and efficient to offer unique localized experiences. All right, and then finally, to help improve efficiency and reduce costs in your back office operations, we have a slew of updates, including AI-powered tools for writing SEO-optimized product descriptions in your brand voice, AI-powered tools for doing things like predictive analytics, and a bunch of other really cool and very helpful updates. So as you can see, we've got a ton of amazing updates this quarter. That's enough for me. Let's get into this. And so with that, I'd like to introduce you to Eric Herr from our product team. Eric, over to you.
Thanks, Troy. Hello, BigCommerce community. My name is Eric, product manager working with our merchandising team. Next slide, please. Today, I'm excited to share the latest updates with our Page Widgets API, a new API endpoint that's designed to help bridge the gap between our content APIs and our page builder UIs. So what was this gap and what problems did it create? Well, consider this. Your marketing team has invested weeks of effort into fine-tuning and crafting page builder content across multiple pages on your staging store. After exhaustive testing and content evaluation, these changes are now ready to go live on your production store. However, here's the hurdle. Our existing APIs don't allow for the migration of layouts between stores. So now if you take this scenario and scale it out to multiple storefronts, you can quickly see how this obstacle grows even more daunting. So what is this Page Widgets API and how does it solve this problem? Well, it's not an API solely dedicated to creating or updating layouts. Rather, the way that I like to think about this API is that it allows you to take a snapshot of the entire page's widget content. This snapshot would contain structured information about all the regions on the page, the layout configurations and widgets that belong to each region, and the individual widget configurations themselves. This snapshot can then be used to transfer the content of an entire page between stores while preserving the fidelity of the layout and widget configurations. But the Page Widgets API offers more than just cross-store migration functionality. It's also a versatile API endpoint that can be used within the same store context. Imagine utilizing this snapshot as a form of version control, reverting a page's widget content to a previous snapshot, scheduling page content publishing, or quickly creating duplicate pages sporting the same layout. Since we shared this API endpoint in our last town hall, the API has been under closed beta for about a month, and it's been yielding promising results that have validated our approach. In particular, we've been working closely with Staging Pro during this beta phase. So let's delve deeper into this collaboration on the next slide. So as we discussed, moving page builder content from staging to production is important, but we know that this rarely exists in isolation. The hero banner you've built in Page Builder to announce the upcoming holiday sale is just one piece in a larger data landscape that includes theme updates, product data updates, coupon codes, blog posts, and more. Staging Pro is a leading integration for staging to production deployments, orchestrating the migration of multiple data points using bulk and selective content migration techniques. Over the past month, we've been working closely with Staging Pro to integrate the Page Widgets API into their content migration workflow. If you've been looking at this video, you'll see a quick demo of the intuitive workflow that Staging Pro have built, leveraging the Page Widgets API. You can see how easy it is to migrate content with a single click, while Staging Pro helps simplify many of the data mapping complexities involved in a cross-store migration. If you're interested in a demo or free trial of Staging Pro, we'll go ahead and share a link in the chat that links you to a demo request form. And also the Page Widgets API will be a public API. So if you have any questions or have a use case that may benefit from this API and would like to participate in the beta independent of Staging Pro, I'll include an email in the chat that you can reach out to. Thank you very much for your time. Next, I'll hand it off to Nathan to share some exciting updates on our composable approach to headless storefronts.
Thanks so much, Eric. So I'm super excited to introduce to you today really the next big leap forward that BigCommerce is taking to enable our customers to build in headless and composable architectures. But first, to set a little bit of context, BigCommerce has over 6 years of experience in headless. We're quite proud to say we were the first e-commerce platform to use the word headless. And I can recall being involved with our first headless merchant all the way back in 2017. So we have a lot of lessons learned from those, many years and thousands of implementations on top of our platform. And in taking this next leap forward, we really want to give our customers, all the benefits that they're looking for in terms of, developer flexibility to build an excellent shopping experience. And, that's the reason that many people choose to build in this way. But we want to have fewer of those downsides. And certainly we've seen some implementations that didn't go the way that the customer would have expected, or things that weren't as maintainable as merchants would have hoped after they went live. So in taking this next leap forward, it's all about giving you all of those benefits with fewer of those downsides and helping you kind of offset some of those risks. So really our high-level priorities here are to help you accelerate time to launch for new headless storefronts and also empower your marketing team and give you that maintainability after launch. So on the next slide, I'm super pleased to introduce Catalyst. Catalyst is the next generation of headless storefront development on BigCommerce, and it's really meant to give you a higher jumping off point for your next headless build. In doing this, we've taken, some of the information that we have about the technologies that people love working with when they build headless and composable, and we've kind of selected which ones are both the most popular and where we see merchants having the most, ultimately business success when they select those technologies. And we're building a little bit more opinionated starting point. So, really the goals that you would expect here would be things like improved agility, developer experience when you're actually building the storefront, user experience for the shoppers that are actually using it, and then sort of on the back end, helping you interact with the BigCommerce API and the platform in a way that's going to be scalable and as a result, give you more ability to handle high traffic and of course, better performance. So a little bit of preview of some of the technologies that we've bet on there on the right, but I'll go into that more in a moment. On the next slide, on the right-hand side here, you've got a very simplified version of, a typical customer architecture that we see when one of our customers decides to go headless or composable for one of their websites. So at the top there, you've usually got a choice of front-end cloud, and sometimes that's a cloud provider like GCP or AWS, or sometimes it's a more front-end focused provider like Vercel or Netlify and others. And then there's, of course, your choice of front-end framework, and this is where we're seeing React and Next.js be extremely popular, and that's the reason why we're betting on that. But then on the back end, you've got your API and data layer, right? So in the case of a BigCommerce headless build, certainly that's the BigCommerce API, and they're handling a lot of the core commerce concerns, like serving up the catalog, cart, and checkout. But we also see it being very popular to plug in, third-party solutions for things like CMS, search and merch solutions, and in reality, there's many more boxes here. For those more sophisticated customers that are composing a whole bunch of services together. So in analyzing this and in building Catalyst, we really just want to lean into the way that we've already seen our customers building and simply make it easier. So this is not us replacing, what we've seen as your organic way of working with a different opinion. This is us just looking at the way you were already working and saying, can we make it easier? One of the ways that we'd love to make it easier, by the way, is by making visual building kind of the standard for headless. And this is where we're going to get a lot of that efficiency from marketing teams. And to that effect, we've actually acquired a leading visual editor for Next.js called MakeSwift that we think is going to be a key part of this journey. And we'll have a lot more to announce on that in future updates. So on the next slide, Catalyst, just to give it kind of a definition, it's our reference architecture for building headless storefronts, and it's really meant to make composable more accessible and more maintainable across every touch point. By touch point, I mean the developers that are building the storefront, within your organization, or if you're working with an agency, you as a business owner, being able to maintain that storefront, deploy new content, and manage your website. And then, of course, for shoppers, having an excellent shopping experience that's highly converting for you. So next slide. The Catalyst then is not just one monolithic product, but it's actually a whole suite of developer products, or for the developers in the audience, you might refer to this as a stack. So this stack includes a whole bunch of different things, right? We've got our GraphQL storefront API there at the bottom, which I'm happy to announce is getting a whole lot of work done on it as part of this release. We've then wrapped that with an API client to make some of the more complex API interactions a little bit easier. And then as you get into the meat of things, you've got our storefront reference application and our storefront component library. So this is really where, for those of you that are familiar with Stencil, you can kind of think of this as sort of cornerstone for headless, where you've got a feature complete e-commerce storefront experience out of the box. And that becomes your jumping off point for customizing, turning that into your branded website, and then, of course, plugging in your third-party services. So, when I talk about getting a little bit more opinionated in terms of headless, we've bet on Next.js and React here because, again, we've seen those be extremely popular in our ecosystem already. And those are also the technologies that we're seeing tending towards success for merchants once they actually get live. So we've built this in Next.js for the storefront reference application and the component library in React. But these are all independently useful products. So taking that storefront component library as an example, if you have an existing React website, even if it's not using Next.js, you can pull in those storefront components and use that to start building, adding BigCommerce, e-commerce functionality into an existing website if that's your starting point. If you want to do, more of a grounds up rebuild or a rebrand of your website, then you'd be best advised to take that storefront reference application and start from there in the same way that you might start with Cornerstone on Stencil. Now, this is a headless and composable architecture, meaning that you can host it wherever you want, right? It's completely agnostic to infrastructure. And if you've got a cloud provider that you already love, by all means, you can host Catalyst there. However, since we're betting on Next.js, we've also partnered closely with Vercel, who we believe to be the best host for Next.js websites in the world, and of course also backs the framework to provide a really easy path for headless and composable hosting. So by selecting Catalyst, we'll also have a really easy path to host that on Vercel and make it really easy to get started. And of course, if you're looking for the best of the best in terms of hosting, that would be our recommendation. Let's go to the next slide. So I wanted to give a little bit of a visual to help people kind of connect what I'm talking about here. So when I talk about Cornerstone, right, when you bet on Cornerstone as a starting point for a Stencil storefront, one of the advantages there is that it's already sort of feature complete, right? So you don't have to re-implement any of BigCommerce's features, especially the more complex interactions like faceted search. But Cornerstone's really unopinionated in terms of styling. And we've, with Catalyst, we've kind of taken that even further to make it so there's very few things that you would need to tear down out of Catalyst to start building it up into a custom branded website. So, what you see here on the screen in terms of a homepage, I want you to think of kind of a blank sheet of paper, right? So this is already feature complete. This is pre-wired to BigCommerce APIs. This is maximally optimized for things like performance and SEO and accessibility. And we are targeting 100 Lighthouse scores out of the box for those things, by the way. But from a branding perspective, it's a blank sheet of paper. So the first thing that you're doing, in your first hour of using Catalyst is just getting out your paintbrush and turning that into your brand, but not, implementing BigCommerce APIs from scratch and not building e-commerce primitives like product cards. So we hope that that'll be a really, as we've said, a higher jumping off point for your next headless and composable build. On the next slide, I've got another example of that, which would be something like a product listing page or a category page. The category page is where a lot of the sophisticated e-commerce functionality comes together. I'll wait for the next slide here. Perfect. So what you've got an example here of BigCommerce's out-of-the-box faceted search functionality, which certainly is one of the more complex parts of an e-commerce website. So with Catalyst, you don't have to build that from scratch in terms of wiring that up to a search API and figuring out, how that facet selection is going to work. We deliver that to you feature complete, and then of course from there you can customize it. If you want that to work a little bit differently, or if you want to plug in a third-party search, so we see Algolia, for example, being a really popular technology among our headless and composable builds, and we're going to make it really easy to swap out, that native BigCommerce search functionality with Algolia, with ease. On the next slide, just one final example is a product detail page. Again, one of the more complex parts of an e-commerce website. There's a whole lot going on here under the hood in terms of how product option selection works, how images and pricing and product information gets updated, and then of course how you add, more complex products to cart. Once again, delivering that to you fully baked, and then you can go to work customizing it instead of implementing it from scratch. Next slide, please. So in terms of timing, hopefully I've gotten you excited about the opportunity with Catalyst. We're going to have a whole bunch of releases throughout 2024. I think we will start out with Catalyst being, kind of an incomplete headless starter, but we still think it'll be the best jumping off point for new headless builds and superior than, any of our existing starting points that we've given before. And then we will essentially continue to work on the product and improve it until it, turns into that sort of cornerstone for headless, where it features 100% of our storefront features, and is a really great jumping off point for a large number of our merchants, and not just those who wanted to start from a minimal point in terms of headless. So we are very interested to get feedback, especially from the developer community right now, to help shape this product. So for those of you that are interested to get early access, feel free to hit the link there in the chat, developer.bigcommerce.com/catalyst, and we'd love to let you into our early access program. That's all I have today on Catalyst. Next up, we've got our Attract section, where I'll hand off to Dimitri for a bunch of his updates.
Thank you, Nathan. I am excited to announce that Feedonomics now offers support for BigCommerce as a sales channel. And what this means is that we can now sync product catalog data to BigCommerce. This includes listing new products, updating existing listings, and updating key attributes like pricing and inventory data. And this data can come from a variety and any combination of these systems. It can come from an ERP, from a PIM, from a direct-to-consumer storefront like BigCommerce or any other platform really, an OMS, and we can take this data and transform it as needed, bring it in, aggregate it, and list it to BigCommerce. And some key sample use cases would be, we have clients that have ERPs or PIMs that maybe are custom or don't have an easy connector into BigCommerce, or maybe that connector is insufficient for the type of data they're trying to handle. We also see use cases where our customers may want to aggregate data from suppliers or dropship vendors. So the merchant may be a dropshipper, they may be a reseller, a retailer, where they need to get data from multiple providers and list it on their BigCommerce storefront, and we can do that. And again, that could also come from other direct-to-consumer storefronts. And another interesting use case we've seen is when merchants have other supplemental data, and so they may already have a great connection from their ERP to BigCommerce that doesn't need to be changed or disrupted, but they have supplemental data. And so we have an example of an auto parts merchant where they have Aces and Pies data from a data provider that's specialized in that segment that they need us to join with their BigCommerce data. And so if you have any use cases that may look like this, or you're interested in this functionality, we'd love to work with you. Please reach out to us. And with that, I'll pass it over to Stephen to talk about our new data validation experience.
Thank you, Dimitri. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Hope, lead product manager at Feedonomics, and today I'm excited to introduce a game-changing update now available to all Feedonomics clients. We've got data validation and data entry. Look, we know running a business on different sales channels can be tricky because each one wants different things from you. Meeting their requirements takes time, and sometimes you're missing extra data attributes that can really help you sell more. Fixing these issues is often a hassle, and it can often delay your product listings from going live. With data validation and data entry in the Feedonomics platform, you can now both see where data is missing or invalid and add or edit data to fix these issues directly from one page. This is great because now you can know about and fix issues before sending it to the channel for the first time, which can help get your listings through slow review processes on the channel faster. Also, you can easily add or fix any recommended or optional attributes that often can be your competitive advantage on the channel. And so, as we show here in the image, you can see all of your data or query a subset at the top. For example, we've queried dresses here. On the right, we validate against the sales channel taxonomy and pivot the results so you can see a summary of issues at a glance. The issues are sorted by requirement and count. You can see and focus on the most important issues first. Then you can select one or more of those issues and filter the grid on the left to focus your workflow. And so on the left, we recognize what is missing or invalid and color code those cells in the grid. You can view and resolve issues directly in the grid. And as you're editing a cell, you can easily select from a list of accepted values for the category of that product. Now, once you save your changes, you can watch the data revalidate in seconds so that you can focus on resolving the next issue quickly. Look, the goal here is simple. We want to empower you to handle data complexities with ease, ensuring your listings not only meet the minimum requirements, but also leverage optional attributes for a competitive advantage. Thank you. Let's make your omnichannel smoother, your omnichannel journey smoother with Feedonomics. And now over to Derek to talk about Convert.
Hey team, let's get into how we can help the shoppers turn into customers. One of the pieces of functionality we're working on is an integration into some of Google's AI technology. They call this Discovery AI or Discovery AI for retail. And it's a set of capabilities to provide your shoppers with product recommendations. What's interesting about this functionality that makes it particularly effective is its real-time personalization. So as that shopper is going through the journey, their prior activity from sort of moments ago can impact the results and the recommendations provided to them throughout their journey. So they're constantly getting up-to-date product recommendations. The solution we're building here is really focusing on the hard parts of the integration around piping that data into the Google AI system so it can provide those recommendations. And then on top of that, we're providing a storefront GraphQL API that you can use to get those recommendations and then build into your storefront and provide the branded experience that you want. So we're looking to get into closed beta for this early next year. And so if you're a brand interested in participating, we recommend to reach out to your CSM to get involved. We've seen really great results with this when we've done this in the past, similar to the results that Google has talked about on the right. So it can really do a lot to improve the shopper experience and in turn, improve your business performance. Next slide. Sorry, apologies. Who's got PayPal?
Yep. Hey, everyone. Thanks, Eric. I'm Nick from the Payment Integrations team, and today I'm thrilled to announce the PayPal's new accelerated checkout solution. The key advantage of this solution is that it can recognize gas shoppers across PayPal Wallet and accelerated checkout offerings. We've been working closely with PayPal to deeply integrate their checkout solution into our native checkout experience. The PayPal's payment-ready members are recognized at the beginning of the checkout and offered the ability to autofill their payment details, enabling them to buy in seconds with the password-less authentication. Non-recognized shoppers are offered the ability to seamlessly save their payment details during the checkout, enabling faster future checkouts across all integrated merchants. PayPal Accelerated Checkout has been rolled out to a few enterprise brands in BigCommerce, and we plan to expand the rollout in early 2024. The new checkout support for the PayPal Commerce platform is planned for 2024 as well. Thanks for your attention. Now I'm passing over to Rowan for the next updates.
All right. Hello, everyone. Keeping it in checkout land, I have an exciting announcement to share with our brands and retailers based in Italy. BigCommerce has just launched a brand new native payment integration for Nexi. Now, some of you may already have been using the Nexi app that's available in our marketplace. Well, this is going to be a much more full-featured and robust payment solution. You'll get access to functionality like 3D Secure and the ability to process refunds directly inside the BigCommerce control panel, as well as a number of anti-fraud and security features that are built in and enabled as standard. Within Italy, you'll find support for local payment methods like Bancomat Pay, MyBank, Satispay, and Pago in Conto. And then throughout Europe, there are a stack of other alternative payment methods available, supporting 39 different currencies for shoppers, while all of those funds are going to settle in your account in euros. This integration is available today, so if it sounds like something you might be interested in, just reach out to your CSM, or you can just look up the detailed setup guide that we have published to get it enabled on your store as soon as you're ready. All right, that's it from me. Over to John to kick off our expand section. Hey, John, it looks like your audio might be having a little malfunction. Sorry, folks, a little technical difficulty here.
Testing. Anything now?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay,
Thanks.
guys. So
I'll
let's
let you
talk
proceed.
Thank you. Let's talk about how we expand and grow brands. And specifically, we'll start with B2B. So as you know, back in May, we released a new B2B buyer portal. We got a lot of feedback, and we really, really appreciate that. That's what informs and improves our product. And overwhelmingly, this has been positive. We definitely got feedback from the buyers and from you, our brands, identifying some opportunities that were critical. And specifically, this came to mobile, the menu in particular, and the cart icon, and showing what's in that cart and making sure that that's clearly visible. So with B2B, we're really focused on intentionally removing distractions and getting these buyers through the processes that are key to that. They're not browsing, shopping continuously, they're completing activities. And we want to get them through that goal as soon and as quickly and easily as possible, so that they don't pick up that phone and call you to look up that tracking number or invoice. And believe it or not, they're doing this a lot from their mobile phone. So lots of improvements here. Is already available if you're on the buyer portal. This is live now, and we'll continue iterating on this as we receive more feedback from both buyers and sellers, buyers specifically using this tool every day. So let's move on here. And we've got, again, as we go to the next slide, we continue to get this feedback from buyers. One of the key inputs that we got was creating shopping lists. They want to keep notes. Real problem that we ran into, architecture firm creating rooms for all of these different designs and furnishings that they're doing for a large building. And they need to notate which line item goes to which room and drawing number on the list that they're using to build these pre-purchase before quoting anything. This is a buyer using a manufacturer site to build these custom lists. So now this is all baked into the buyer portal. They can do this on quotes currently. We didn't have it on lists. It will now be there. And to go along with that, we've provided this in the GraphQL API, as well as in the server-to-server API. So you can start doing really cool things like actually seeing these lists and helping add content to them as needed to communicate with the buyer directly. So that will be available early next year. If you're on the buyer portal, it will automatically be a feature you can toggle on. Let's move on to another exciting improvement. So this one, when we look at B2B, we see different roles. So we have the buyer, and that's really where the buyer portal comes in. And then we have the seller and the sales rep. And we want to focus on efficiency on both sides. So for the sales rep, we know every day there are exceptions to shipping rules, especially in B2B. So we're talking LTL, all sorts of rush orders that are specific that need to happen for a particular project, or for example, you need to overnight something to Hawaii and it's needs to go on an airplane, a dedicated airplane. These are real things that happen every day. And there's a long, tenuous process oftentimes to get that custom shipping rate through a normal B2B process. So there's a phone call, we got to create that quote. And then when that buyer needs to place that order, they got to call back because the website isn't calculating that specific nuance quote that they've negotiated. Now we can actually provide that shipping quote on the quote, send it back to the buyer, and they can check out using that custom shipping rate that's provided on that specific quotation. And it's nuanced in the fact that it's only going to work for that specific quote in that instance, and for as long as that's specified to be good. This is compatible with ShipperHQ and any standard shipping integration that you have set up. It will be available in January as well. Really excited about this. This is a huge, huge efficiency saver for your B2B sales reps. And now, one that I know many of you will be really excited about, company credit limits. So again, as we're moving forward and we want to democratize B2B functionality, and we want to make these things as easy as possible to enable, we've taken and improved how company credit limits work within B2B Edition. And so keep in mind, this is focused on B2B brands that are integrating with their ERP. We see the ERP as a source of truth where that credit is stored. And it needs the ability to communicate with the buyer when that credit is available, not available, and follow the instructions that were set within B2B Edition. So now there are toggles. You can see this within B2B Edition. And if a company has a limit and they've hit that and you don't want them to be able to purchase, you can now specify that. So this is also available in January at the next release. And this is, again, how we want to make sure that we're automating the key frictions that decrease the efficiency of your B2B brand, because we know that's where a lot of holes in the buckets are. So with that, we're going to hand it off to Christina to talk about all the awesome international updates she has.
Thanks, John. I will have to keep the bar high after this awesome update. So we have started international enhancements for multi-storefront closed beta. This is now available for all enterprise stores created after September 1st. We are also encouraging all agency and tech partners to join. So if you're interested and you haven't yet applied, please reach out to your account manager for more details. And now let's go to the next slide, Drew, to share what is included in this beta. So in this beta, you can create localized storefronts, both BigCommerce stencil and headless, each on its own language, targeting different geographies. So this release includes selecting the language for each of the storefronts, localizing content like pages, categories, cart, checkout, emails, also controlling SEO of the storefront in general, as well as categories, products, and pages, setting up unique prices, promotions, and discounts, and building custom localized widgets across different websites. But the most impactful change with this release is related to product management. So now You can customize products in a context of every storefront to be in a different language or being in the same language just to have different product description, SEO to fit different brand needs, and store this data in BigCommerce catalog. So there is a new management GraphQL API available for you in beta, as well as storefront GraphQL support, which is definitely worth considering if you're looking to build a headless commerce solution for yourself or brands you work with. So please apply to get access if you haven't done this yet. And now let's make a quick look into the future. So in 2024, and we can go straight to the next one. So closed beta will be followed by broader availability for all enterprise stores. This milestone will also include the ability to customize more product attributes like custom fields and images, as well as the ability to tailor checkout experience to fit shopper needs in different geographies. So payment methods, shipping methods, default tax zone, and enabled currencies will become available to be configured differently per each storefront. And all of this is targeting to become available to you early next year. And if we look a little bit further in 2024, after that, later in 2024, we will give you more flexibility in setting up prices and inventory deduction for international selling. So with prices, you will, if you are, for example, selling in US and Canada and in Europe, you will now have the ability to enter prices exclusive of tax for your US and Canadian storefront and enter prices inclusive of tax for your European storefronts. If you are also selling in the same configuration across different continents and you have warehouse locations in different regions, for example, in US, for US and Canada, and in Europe and in Australia, you will have the ability to assign inventory locations to storefronts for stock availability and also set rules for inventory deduction when the order is placed on one of the storefronts. This is targeting later next year, so stay tuned for more updates. And if we go even further in 2024, we are targeting to support multi-language translations on a single storefront. So these capabilities will serve great for brands selling in multilingual countries like Belgium, Canada, or Switzerland, as well as for brands selling cross-border. Our primary goal here is to provide you with a unified translation management API to translate all the shopper-facing content strings into multiple languages on a single storefront. This solution will also enable our partner ecosystem to create content translation solutions for international brands on BigCommerce. So more updates on this will be coming during the next town halls. Thanks for watching. And from here, passing it over to Irina to open up Operate section and to share an update on catalog management improvements that are coming soon.
Yeah, thanks. Hi all. I'm Irina. I'm a product manager of catalog and inventory team, and I'm also happy to share some great news. So we are starting a closed beta for new V3 API for shared options and modifiers, and it's planned for the beginning of the next year. So if you, for example, have a store that's selling t-shirts and you need to apply color, size, or other customization to your product, and you definitely don't want to make dozens of API calls to apply all of them per each product. So now you will be able to create shared options and modifiers in a single API call. This release will help you to plug in easily your PIM or any other catalog management system, and also it will help our partners ecosystem to create the best catalog management solutions, and you could use them to save time to manage your products and use this time instead to grow and leverage your business. And we'll share details on during the next town hall how to apply and to get access to this closed beta. Thanks all, and giving words to Nathan.
Thanks, Irina. I've got a couple of quick updates for both meta fields and webhooks, so some updates for our developer audience. It's a super quick punch list here. Meta fields are coming to more objects, so they're already available now to be attached to carts, but they'll also be able to be attached to customers early next month. And then in terms of coverage, we do have now webhooks coverage so that you can actually get real-time events whenever meta fields are being updated, which we thought was important. But now that more and more interesting custom integrations are being built that rely on meta fields, we wanted to give them that event coverage as well. In terms of management, one of the pieces of feedback we've heard is that it's a little too difficult or too chatty to use the API to manage meta fields across a large number of products, for example. So we've built new batch endpoints to make it easier to do that. There's a new endpoint in our V3 API where you can get a whole bunch of meta fields at once across a whole bunch of products, for example. And we've also added meta field support into our admin GraphQL API with some of the same benefits. So it's now much easier to just simply browse all of the meta fields on your entire store without having to go into a sub-resource on each individual product ID, as an example. We've also added a couple of different new API access levels to make it easier to manage meta fields. So you can now create an API token with access to administer all of the meta fields on your store if you need to back those up, for example, or kind of have like a super user authority over them. As well as the ability to change the ownership of meta fields, because we've heard from a great number of you that capability is needed, especially when you've deleted an API account and you need to, sort of regain control of your meta fields. We're also working with a number of the popular meta fields management apps out there in our ecosystem to help them integrate these capabilities so that those apps will become even more valuable and give you some control panel functionality to deal with your meta fields as well. On the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about new things coming to webhooks. First of all, and super exciting for those of you that use cloud providers like AWS or GCP for hosting apps and integrations, BigCommerce can now deliver your webhook events directly into a queue managed by your cloud provider. So if you use Google, that's going to be the Google Cloud's PubSub infrastructure. And if you use Amazon, that's going to be EventBridge. The important thing here is this completely trivializes the task of receiving webhooks from the BigCommerce platform and at any sort of traffic or scale. So even if you're getting tens of thousands of events in a short period of time, it'll be really easy to deal with that load, and you can sort of scale the processing of that using all of your favorite features of your cloud provider. We've got this in beta now, so if you'd like access to that, there's the tiny URL right there that we'll also put in the chat, and we'd love to give you early access to this capability. More improvements coming to webhooks. So one thing we're doing to kind of improve the signal to noise ratio, because we've heard from many of you that we send webhooks, a large number of webhooks, and you're not always sure if that webhook is relevant to you or it's something that you need to respond to. So we're adding filtering capabilities where you can essentially say, I'm only interested in webhooks that come from that weren't triggered by myself, as an example, filtering on a client ID. Or when we think about the new channel aware webhooks that we've enabled for multi-storefront, you could exempt or include certain channel IDs. As an example. So this is something you can set up when you initially subscribe to that event to kind of tweak which events you'll receive in the first place. And that leads to a lot of extra efficiency for you in dealing with those. And then on the security front, something we've heard from our customers for a while is we've now added a signature to each webhook event that'll be returned as an HTTP header. And you can essentially use this to verify that that webhook event is legitimate, that it did come from BigCommerce, and therefore that you can trust it for further processing. So this is kind of an improvement over the webhook security situation in the past where people felt the need to use authorization headers on their subscriptions and so forth. So for more updates on these releases we've just talked about and many more, feel free to check out our developer changelog on developer.bigcommerce.com. Next up, I think we're back to Derek for some exciting AI updates.
Hey guys, excited to announce a new app available in our app marketplace. It's available right now. We call it the Big AI Copywriter app. And what this is designed to do is to help you write product descriptions or take existing product descriptions that you have in your store and improve those. It's got capabilities where you can give it instructions to define the brand voice. You can give it additional keywords you want included in the product description for SEO. You can also apply just custom instructions to it to further direct the AI copywriter to write in the voice of your brand and create the product descriptions that are going to work for your storefront. Interesting, we've also open sourced this for developers. So if you have any ideas on extending the capabilities or further modifying it, it's available in GitHub. You can pull that and make your own adjustments and deploy a custom version to our at Marketplace store. For the moment, a few sort of caveats and functionality I want to call out here is this is only working for English language. Sometimes we get it to work with additional languages, but there's some additional work behind the scenes we need to do to open this up to all languages. So we really recommend this for English language storefronts for the moment, but we're working on adding support for additional languages in the near future. The other piece to call out is this is currently only available for stores on our latest V3 catalog experience. And if you're wondering, how do you know if you're on the V3 catalog experience? If you look at the screenshot kind of hiding in the back there, that is a screenshot of the ad edit product experience in our control panel. And if your ad edit product experience looks like that one does, you're on the latest V3 catalog experience. You can check out this app. Once you've installed it, the way you engage with it is within that product description box. You will see 3 little dots in the top right, indicating that there's extended functionality. You can click that, and then it opens up this panel, and you're able to interact with this directly within your ad edit product experience. I was recently talking to a brand about a particularly interesting use case I want to call out just to sort of give you ideas of ways in which you can use this. If you are a company selling products from other manufacturers and you're getting pre-written product descriptions from that manufacturer, and you want to modify that description so it's more in the voice of your particular store and brand, you could take that existing description, feed it to this big AI copywriter, and then it can make further modifications to put it more in the voice of your particular brand and speed up your workflow rather than you having to write all of that by hand. Cool. Let's go to the next slide. Also, we've got a quick update on our Google Analytics 4 integration. This also includes updates to the big open data layer, which is really useful if you are building your own custom integrations, whether it be to Google Analytics 4 or to other pixels, tags, and scripts. The key update here is we've added 2 new events. So when a shopper views a promotion or performs a search, these events will be emitted to the big open data layer, and our Google Analytics 4 integration will consume that. So you will now have that automatically available if you're using our integration on Stencil Store in your Google Analytics data, and you can do the analytics using those events in Google Analytics. Here you can see the full list. This sort of concludes the integration we're looking to build. If there are additional enhancements you'd like us to incorporate into Google Analytics 4, we recommend you submit those community ideas or communicate that to us. But for now, we think this is a really robust, rich integration. We hope it helps you run your store. Next slide. Another piece we're working on, and this is more in the exploratory phase, this is the idea of leveraging BigQuery ML functionality that is available in the Google Cloud Platform on top of the Google BigQuery integration that we already offer. If you're wondering what any of that stuff is, Google BigQuery is a data warehouse solution where we make it easy for you to get your store's data into Google BigQuery so you can run SQL on your data and do your own analytics and custom reporting. You're using your BI platform of choice, such as Google Looker Studio, Tableau, or Microsoft Power BI. What we're looking to do here is to make it easier to get started with predictive analytics. So if you've never done this kind of thing before, you don't have a data scientist on staff, we want to make it so you don't need that data scientist on staff. Or if you are a data scientist, you can get started much faster and you can be more effective in your job. So the idea here is similar to where we published Google Looker Studio reports that you can copy and then modify to your particular store. We're going to be doing the same thing here, but incorporating BigQuery's ML technology. The use cases we're digging into right now are around predicting the future LTV as new customers come into your store. So you're getting personalized predictions for each customer, and then enabling you to segment those customers based on that predictive LTV. And then again, this is really meant to be that starter kit. So if you're interested in this functionality and you'd like to participate and partner with us, I'd recommend you reach out to a CSM and you can get connected to myself and the product team, because we'd love to find some brands that would like to partner with us on some initial versions of this solution. Next slide. Related to the Google BigQuery integration I just talked about, which is a data warehousing solution that we have a native integration to, there's some additional data that we've added to that integration. One of which is the customer group data sets. This enables you to do analytics on customer groups. So if you want to see simple things such as which of your customer groups are generating the most revenue, you can now do that kind of thing. But more importantly is any KPI that you're already using with Google BigQuery, you now can use customer group as the dimension to see your metrics by the customer group dimension. So it has a lot more flexibility. We've already published a starter Google Looker Studio report. It's a very simple report, but it sort of enables you to find what are the right sort of data points within the data warehouse so you can kind of get going and building the analytics that you need. Next slide. And so building upon that, the additional data set that we're adding is inventory data by the different locations. So this is also available in BigQuery already. We're working on building the Google Looker Studio report as a starter kit. That should be coming in December. But the data is already in BigQuery, so you can get started today. Again, here, if you'd like to participate in shaping the direction of this starter report, reach out to us. We'd love to get some feedback and help shape the direction of this so that can be really valuable for you right out of the box. And next slide, which might conclude, to Q&A.
Thanks, Derek, and thanks to everyone for those exciting updates. I'll spare no time here. Let's get started with some Q&A, shall we? Brent, first up, we have a question for you. This person asks, with the recent restructuring at BigCommerce, has this affected your presence in Europe, especially France? Will we continue to see BigCommerce visible in the EMEA market, such as at trade shows in the coming years?
Oh, yeah. So let me give an overview on our presence in Europe, which is enormous. We have, I don't have the exact numbers handy, but I believe we have significantly more than 200 employees across Europe. And as a reminder, we launched our business presence in Europe back in 2018, where we're headquartered out of the UK. Our EMEA leader is Mark Adams out of the UK. We have more than, I think, more than 100 people in the UK alone as our biggest concentration in Europe. We have another 100 plus people, or roughly that, in Ukraine and Poland. And that has been one of our really key engineering and product centers around the world since 2018 or 19 as well. So that has been scaling up very, very significantly. And no, the war has not stopped us, as that team has just performed spectacularly through everything that's going on in that region. We also have a service center out of Ireland, a multi-language service center serving continental European languages and in-time zone support. This is a model that I saw be very, very successful at PayPal. Back when I ran PayPal Europe from 2005 to 2009, I actually started in Ireland, where there were more than 1,000 people there. Sorry, I'm getting a long-winded answer. I got to get to the point. But we're doing the same thing out of Ireland. And then we have local business presence on the continent. So strong local business presence in Spain, Italy, France, Germany, and the Nordics. We also serve Benelux. There is no change at the high level to our presence in all of those countries and regions. You know, in every given year, there are pluses and minuses in terms of staffing, where we're trying to kind of right size based on business trends that we see. Personally, with respect to France, having lived for 3 years adjacent to France in Luxembourg, I think it's one of the very best e-commerce markets in the world for BigCommerce. There's not great, strong local competition there. Our product is really good. The businesses in France are great for e-commerce, and we're completely and fully committed to it. I personally spend more than a week a year, every single year, in France vacationing, in addition to my business trips. So whoever was asking that question, know that our commitment and presence in France continues, and we really believe there's a lot of prospects for us to grow in partnership with customers and partners in France.
Thank you, Brent. Appreciate it. Derek, if you will come on back, we've got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
This viewer asks, will synonyms or a mapping feature be added to storefront search to help reduce the amount of options when filtering products? An example would be when searching for the color black, there may be several variations of black, such as black and white, all black, black and silver, etc. A mapping feature would allow us to assign all of those options to just black.
That's a great idea. I love the suggestion. At the moment, that's not currently on our roadmap, so I would encourage you to submit the idea to community ideas site so that other brands can submit their interest in that particular idea. Although I think it's broad applicability to a lot of stores, so it's a great suggestion. At the moment, that's not on our roadmap. And full transparency, where we are focused on with search is making sure it works really well with the multi-geo solutions that Christina previously talked about. So you can search in different languages, whether you've got a French store, English store, German store, etc. All of those will have the appropriate search and search indexes with the right data behind the scenes to power the results. Further on from that, the area where we're interested that we're looking into improve the efficacy of the search results, which is really what the idea is all about, is looking at incorporating some AI capabilities, particularly around semantic search, so that it can pick up on those different variations automatically without having to do a lot of the mapping. Not to say that the mapping is not valid and useful feature on its own. I think it's great. So that's something we're looking for in the future. I will say if the shopper is searching in the search box and they search something such as black for that particular use case, all of those product variations should be coming up because it's going to do sort of what we call a fuzzy match on those results. But that mapping feature could be great, particularly for sort of a filtering experience or a navigational experience.
Thanks, Derek. And I have one more question for you here. This person asks, what is the impact of Chrome phasing out third-party cookies?
Great question. So I'll take a moment and just a very high-level explanation of sort of first-party cookies versus third-party cookies. And the big difference between the two is first-party cookies enable you to sort of track a user's behavior within your domain. And if the user leaves the domain, you sort of lose that tracking. Third-party cookies attempt to track shoppers across multiple domains. So as they go from facebook.com to a store to Google search to a blog, that can all be tracked across all the different domains. And so third-party cookies across the industry are going away. It's generally considered a bit too invasive on people's data privacy rights. So most of the industry is really moving towards first-party cookies. And Chrome is one of many browsers moving in that direction. The integrations we already provide, such as the Google X4 integration and the Metapixel integration, are centered around first-party cookies. It also solves for things such as if a visitor starts on facebook.com and then they come to your website, we can pick up that referral information even within a first-party context, which helps you with your marketing and advertising attribution. And so if you're using our native integrations, what I would say is that third-party change on Chrome won't really have an effect on those integrations. You're going to be totally fine. You shouldn't see any material changes as a result of that specific change. If you're using other pixel integrations that rely on third-party cookies, that's where it's going to be important to find those, and you probably want to seriously consider shifting those to first-party cookie integrations.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Troy, you are up.
Let's do it.
This person asks, when BigCommerce is offering new features, oftentimes we don't know how to use them and we are afraid to change because of the unknowns. What support services are available for merchants to learn about these features and become more comfortable in using them?
Great question. We've got a bunch of options for you available today, and we've got even more coming in the future. So let me highlight some of those. A good resource, support.bigcommerce.com. That's our community area. In there, you will find things like our product blog, where we feature and describe new product launches. There's our community area where you can ask questions and engage with other BigCommerce brands and partners. There is the knowledge base where we publish articles on how features work, and we do that in quite detail. In the future, we're looking at short product videos to give you little demos and show you how things work. And then depending on your plan type, you may have access to a sandbox store, which is a test store, a staging store that has all the features and functions of the platform. And so that's another great place if you have access to a sandbox store to test out new features there. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Troy. It was pretty helpful. All right, Christina, we have a couple questions for you.
Coming.
This person asks, when do you expect to release end-to-end support for multi-location inventory for multi-storefront? By end-to-end support, I mean storefront support for MLI.
Great question. So as I mentioned, the ability to assign inventory locations to storefronts for stock availability is currently targeting second half of next year. And this release will also include full stencil storefront support. So this will be coming all together in 2024.
Great, thank you. And one more question for you. This person asks, will USA and Canada be separated to recognize unique shipping locations from warehouses in each country?
Oh, yes. So each shipping zone will be served by a location. So since shipping zones are very granular, you can basically have US shipping zone with its own location and Canadian shipping zone with another location. With this solution, it can go as granular as shipping zones are. So it allows to, for example, have a different location serving Eastern US and Western US, or even different postcodes. So it's going to be very flexible in terms of what you can do with it.
Great, thank you so much. And I know we're at time, but we just have a few more questions. So Nathan, if you're available, do you think you could come on and get one answered for us?
Certainly.
Great, thank you so much. This person asks, will there be updates to GraphQL to allow for page and widgets content to be used by headless storefronts instead of relying on headless CMS for content?
Yeah,
we
great
would
question.
like to use, oh, sorry.
No, sorry, finish, go ahead.
We would like to use BigCommerce and Page Builder for content on headless storefronts.
Yeah, so this is actually already available. So we've got a feature in our storefront GraphQL API today where you can essentially get the finished or rendered HTML content from any of the things that you've created via the widgets API. So if you go into our GraphQL playground, you'll find that under the site content node where you can get sort of rendered regions by page type. So the primitives for it are already there. I think the missing piece there is to provide kind of the actual drag and drop page builder experience for creating that content. But if you wanted to take an API driven approach, you could actually string this together today. That being said, providing visual editing on top of headless storefronts is going to be a big priority for us in 2024. So we will have more specific updates around that in the new year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nathan. I think we can get through a couple more, Arena, if you'd like to join me for a V2 catalog question. This person asks, will updates to V3 for shared options and modifiers ease the transition for users on catalog V2 with option-heavy catalogs who are looking to switch from V2 to V3?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a great one. Yeah, definitely rolling out of V3 for API for shared option and modifiers would be a big step for migration from V2 to V3 catalog. And if you have, for example, catalog in V2 set up with options and configurable fields, you'll be able to easily migrate to V3 and to reset up your catalog using this API.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I think we have time for one more. Eric, if you'd like to join me. This viewer asks, does the page widget API include returning widget content in the page management APIs?
Thanks. That's a great question. So I'm assuming here that when we say page management APIs, we're referring to our web pages API. That's the endpoint ending in V3 content pages. So I sympathize that there can be some confusion when it comes to overlaps in terminology, but the short answer here is that the content associated with widgets resides in a distinct database and isn't directly retrievable through the Pages API. So the Web Pages API or the Page Manager API is being referenced in this question, primarily focused on the web page content, such as the WYSIWYG editor or the fields within a contact form. On the other hand, the Page Widgets API specifically pertains to the content situated within regions established by the page builder. However, it is noteworthy to point out that you can use these endpoints in tandem to oversee both page content and widget content. Hopefully that answers the question. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Eric. And I think we will have to wrap it up there. But to our audience that may want to continue the conversation, we'd love to have you join our online community. You can visit our Help Center community anytime, and you can also join us on Reddit and Facebook. And then finally, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our panelists who presented today. And a thank you to all the BigCommerce customers and partners on the line. With that, Brent, do you have any last words to close this out with?
I do. Since this is our last town hall of 2023, on behalf of everybody at BigCommerce, I want to express our gratitude for the privilege of serving you, our customers, and our partners. All of us here at BigCommerce have devoted this part of our professional lives, in some speakers' cases on this call, going on 10 years of their professional lives, to trying to build the best product and service in the world of e-commerce to power your success. We're grateful that you've picked us. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve you. And we're all going to continue doing our very best efforts to collaborate with you to help you keep growing and thriving in this e-commerce era. And finally, I just want to wish you in the final days of 2023, not just e-commerce success, but also joy with your friends and family. May you have wonderful times and much love around you as you finish this year. We look forward to seeing you again in the new year, 2024. Thanks.